This is Michael Spedden, and welcome to Fowl Players Radio, your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. We feature interviews from musicians, actors, comics, dancers, authors, and much, much more, up-and-coming artists and beloved favorites. We've got it all, people on stage, backstage, out front, and behind the scenes. Sit back and relax. Let's have some fun.
Hey, I'm Rob Galpin.
And I'm Craig Stiegel.
And I'm Mark Schenker of Gaston, and you're listening to Michael Spedden on Fowl Players Radio.
Hey, Mary Jo Peel here, and you are listening to Fowl Players Radio.
And welcome to Season 11 of Fowl Players Radio, Episode 21. Tonight, two very special people as guests on Fowl Players Radio. If you were a 70s kid like me, you grew up watching the New Zoo Revue. We remember Freddie the Frog, Henrietta Hippo, Charlie the Owl, and the two human characters, Doug and Emmy Jo. Well, they're here with us tonight, Doug Momry and Emily Peden. Not only did they co-star on the show together, they have been married for 55 years, I believe they told me. And about a year and a half ago, their daughter started a Facebook page, and they've had a real resurgence in popularity, making appearances at nostalgia shows and getting to meet their fans. And they have just been having a ball with this. And I got to tell you, folks, they are two very special people, two of the nicest people you'll ever want to know. And, I think with the workload that they had, plus having a new daughter during the run of New Zoo Revue, you hear the term hardest working people in showbiz. They're definitely up there. I really think you're going to enjoy this interview as I did conducting the interview, and their links to all their social media where you can find out more about New Zoo Revue and what they're up to now can be found in the show notes. The Fowl Players of Perryville are back in action and have upcoming shows on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad, Fifth Company Brewing in Perryville, Maryland, Susky River Beverage Company, Madigan's on the Waterfront, and much, much more, and Maryland Party Boat. We can't forget Maryland Party Boat. If you're interested in seeing our show, our website is foulplayersofperryville.com. If you're interested in booking us, foulplayersperryville@yahoo.com or 443-600-0446. Every Tuesday from 4 to 6 and replay Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time is the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show on 97underground.com. Baltimore's Pure Rock Worldwide. We feature songs you forgot you liked, classics that never die, interviews with up-and-coming and classic beloved bands, and a lot of local stuff too, folks. Go to 97underground.com or go to youtube.com/@97underground Michael Spedden to hear my interviews. And you can download the free app from 97underground.com. Listen to us wherever you may go. We thank you for watching and listening to Fowl Players Radio. Our main website is foulplayersradio.com. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Remember to support our guests in their endeavors. Links to their books, albums, tickets to their shows, and much, much more can be found in the show notes of each episode. Remember, you can get some great gifts. Shop small. Support these artists, guys. We'll be right back with Doug and Emmy Jo from the New Zoo Revue.
Hi, this is Randy Jackson from Zebra, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio.
Hello, my name is Gunhild Carling, and you are listening to Fowl Players Radio, and I am interviewed here, so tune in.
And folks, here we are again, another episode of Fowl Players Radio. And today we have very special guests, two people that I was big fans of in my youth as a little fella. If anybody remembers the New Zoo Revue, if you came up, in my age group, you'll remember these folks here we have today. We have Doug and Emmy Jo. We have Doug Momry and Emily Peden. Welcome. It's good to have you all here. And it's good to see that you're out and doing the Comic-Cons and the shows and people. It must feel really good to have people coming up and pay tribute to you and say hello and, tell you what, that your work really meant something to them, huh?
Well,
just that we never really realized how much it meant to people. And our daughter actually got us started on this with the Facebook site. And it's just, honestly, it's been so rewarding to meet our new zoo kids like you that have all grown up now. Most of them have raised their families. A lot of them are grandparents. Some of them are retired. And every single one has just been wonderful that we can be friends with them, because we just are so proud of our new zoo kids.
What's amazing, Michael, is that, you know, when I created the show, you have no idea that it's going to, you know,
Impact
be
people.
as popular as it's been. I mean, people come up to us all the time and like, oh, I'm singing this theme song still. And, you know, as a musician, as a composer, you don't know whether your song is going to have any impact or not. And so it's just a blessing. It's just been amazing to see the outpouring of affection and love
Yes.
for the show.
And it's been very, very exciting to see all the different professions that are represented in our new zoo kids.
Yeah.
We didn't call you guys new zoo kids. Somebody wrote in and said, we're going to be the new zoo kids. We thought, well, okay, that's great. But it's fun to see the professions that are represented. My goodness, we've got doctors, we've got a lot of musicians, we've got authors, teachers, librarians, law enforcement, you name it. They're all there.
That's wonderful. You know, the thing that and I just have so many questions about this too, because you're being in the business. You know, first of all, I'm wondering, how in the world did you manage? I mean, you were one of the creators, you, and it looks like Barbara Atlas, and we'll kind of get into that story as to, you know, how she approached you about starting the show. But, you know, writing, shooting, acting, 190 episodes, 600 songs.
Yeah. It was a challenge. But listen, when you're young, when you're 20, 23, 25,
Bingo.
you can do it. You can stay up all night. You can live on coffee and chocolate. I mean, I was a constant machine. In the off season, I'd be writing the storylines and the all the songs, because there was 3 songs in each episode. So we would record 12 songs a week. We would record an album a week. And then those shows would be used in the following week's production. We would lip sync them all. So it was, I mean, back in the day, we didn't have all the technology that they have now, you know, where you could sync it after the fact.
Oh, right.
It was all live. I mean,
So, and the thing is too, I mean, I was going back through, you know, there are a number of places where episodes are posted, and, you know, the songs that you wrote, I mean, the people playing on those songs were no slouches. I mean, you had some good musicians playing on those songs.
yes.
And, you know, I mean, so I'm guessing that, I mean, a lot of this stuff had to have been written ahead of time and you've got it recorded, but I mean, were you going week to week with, I mean, were you overseeing the studio, you know, the recording of this music, as well as writing and acting and shooting?
Yes, I mean, I literally, in the first couple seasons, I was in the band, in the studio, or, you know, I was in the studio band. I mean, and, you know, kind of directing. I mean, we had a musical director who was overseeing everything, but I was playing guitar on most of the early tracks for sure. And then we had Hal Blaine on drums. We had, you know, we had some really heavyweight people.
I'm listening to the songs and everything, and, you know, and that's one thing, especially as a bass player, I'm kind of drawn to that. And I was like, hey, whoever you had playing on that had some excellent chops. I mean, you had some, you had some players in there, definitely.
Yeah, we did, and that was so rewarding to me. But you know, at the time, you just don't know. I mean, I was influenced by so many composers out there and recording artists, and we were just trying to mirror the times. Basically, you'll hear influences from a lot of different people in all of the songs on Revue. You know, from the Beatles to the Handle.
Oh, yes, you definitely can. You definitely can. And then some of it had more of a 70s sound. Some of it was a little folkier. I mean, yeah, you really did run a pretty big spectrum of writing and composing and influences. I could definitely hear it, you know.
And I can tell you, I didn't want to write down to the kids, and I didn't want to sing down to the kids. So
Right, right.
sophisticated, even for that young audience. But
Mhm.
I felt they deserve this.
Mhm.
So, that's, and I think that was kind of the charm of the show, because adults were saying, this is pretty cool.
Mhm.
They let their kids watch the show.
Right, right. I mean, and that's another thing too. That's another selling point for adults. When they have children watching something, they're not having their kids watching something that drives them up the wall. While they can sit there and kind of join in and listen to it too and appreciate it. So, bravo on that. Well played,
Thank you.
well played. So around this time, I mean, I guess, was educational television relatively new? I know, Sesame Street may have preceded you by about 2 or 3 years. The Electric Company, I think, came out around the same time. And now then your show came out, I think it was 72 is when it debuted.
Mhm.
And it was a little bit different than the other ones, as you say in a number of articles that I've read. You were more or less teaching social, the social end of people's education, not, look, kids, 5 ladybugs, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was more or less like, you have to eat your dinner, you can't live off of candy, you have to clean your house, have your responsibilities, don't go pawning it off on Emmy Joe, clean your house, Henrietta. There was a lot of things like that that really taught people how to be, taught the good side of, the part of being a good, responsible person. Um, you chose that route. Was there, what was the inspiration for that? Were you did you really just see a need for it or something? Or
Well, Doug came up with all of this. So this is why he can speak to it better than I can. But we both love children, and we both wanted to give children a good foundation of how to be good citizens, and mainly how to be kind to each other and respectful, and
Mm-hmm.
not bully each other,
Sure.
and how to get along and be just really have good sound friendships, and treat other people just the way we want to be treated.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
That was the foundation was just that. I let the other shows do 1, 2, 3, ABC, like you were saying, that was already being done.
Yeah.
But we wanted to approach it from a different angle, where kids would get involved with the stories. They would see how the animals treated each other, how they treated us. And we wanted to show them that, no matter who you are, you deserve respect, you deserve love. I mean, you can lose your temper, but believe me, I wrote a song about not losing your temper.
Well, I think when you did a show on forgiveness.
Huh?
On forgiveness,
I
there's at least a song about the importance of forgiving.
Yeah. I mean, we ran the gamut of what I call moral teaching, or just a moral foundation. And, we just felt like that was needed at the time. And believe it or not, I think those topics are still apropos today.
And the thing
I would say, I agree.
The thing that's really pretty amazing to me is that we didn't realize the impact that the shows had, but we have since had countless numbers of our New Zoo kids that have gotten in touch with us and shared that they had very challenging home lives themselves, and that our show helped them learn how to be productive adults. And that's kind of shocking to me, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we had that kind of positive impact, but we didn't know it at the time.
A lot of said, you were our parents.
Yeah.
You were our substitute parents.
Right.
And today, Michael, I mean, I'm doing a song every week on YouTube of songs that I did for the show, and I'm having to learn how to play them again. I mean, it's just crazy. Did I write that? But anyway, some of the our viewers and fans are actually requesting a song that they remember from the show. And it blows my mind that, oh, you remember that. So my lead sheets and
Mm.
find out how I could play this thing again.
Mhm.
But it's just it's amazing that the power of music is such a pervasive thing, and in our culture today. But let's have positive music. That's really what we were doing.
Certainly, certainly. Yeah, that show with over 600 songs plus. I think I think that thing on YouTube could be called Stump Doug, because I'm sure that you probably
Why didn't we think of that? That is a great idea.
Yeah, seriously.
boy, I tell you,
Yeah.
that is just, I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around 600 songs in just that amount of time. And this was a very busy time in your life here. Let's jump back a little bit here. Because I was also reading about, a couple of, how you were talking about how you met. Both of you were theater people. Both ended up in California. Doug, I believe you're from New Jersey originally.
I was born in New Jersey, but
Mhm.
my folks moved out to California when I was 5 years old. So I was California
Oh, okay. You're West Coast
all the
guy.
way.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course a rock and roll guy from the beginning.
Oh, sure, sure. And then Emily, you were from Texas, I believe, originally, right?
Right.
Right.
I grew up in Texas and went to SMU,
Mhm.
studied acting. And then I actually won a scholarship through ABC television to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. And so
Oh,
I lived in New
AMDA.
York for 3 years.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
know quite a few AMDA.
And
I have a couple AMDA graduates in my murder mystery group, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
really?
really?
Oh
Yeah.
my
Well, I
goodness.
have to brag on Emily. She got the Best Actress Helen Hayes Award for Best Actress. I mean, so she wasn't only doing kid shows. She was
Well, I had
quite...
never done a kid show.
Mhm.
I had only done, just legitimate theater.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that summer, we both happened to go to summer stock at the same theater in California, Santa
Okay.
Maria.
Okay. Yeah.
And
And that's where you met. Playing music in your room. We have our Emily was apparently serenaded every night. And
Well, I'll tell you, it's really it kind of an interesting story because I actually had two leads that summer. I was playing Portia in The Merchant of Venice
uh-huh.
and Masha in The Three Sisters, and I had a lot of lines. And I
Mhm.
would go to the music building to just work on my lines and practice.
That's
And
work.
I heard this music, and I've kind of followed down to the room and peeked in there. And well, that's that nice Doug Mallory who's in the company. He's in the theater company, and he was just playing his music and singing. And I just sit down there and listen to it. And I just thought it was wonderful. I fell in love with his music before I fell in love with him. And
Right.
then I
Right.
found out that he was getting up every morning at 5 o'clock to go play basketball. And that
Oh,
sealed the deal.
before the day started. Yeah, right.
what a way to
So
that's good. That's good. And a good way to wait.
yeah,
Some people get up and go running basketball. Why not?
yeah.
Right?
Why not?
Oh,
Why not get to the
he
gym?
he has played basketball, I mean, for many, many, many years.
Yeah,
Mhm.
He can hit those 3-point shots.
used to.
Mhm.
You still can. You still can.
Yep. My father got a scholarship, American University in DC, and was a it wasn't all American, but there was a list that came out. It was like they took 10 players from every state. And so it was like the top 500 and he was one of the ones from Maryland. So
Well, that's impressive.
yeah. He
What
was
an honor.
quite a hoops player too. And I tell you, he would come home from work, be wearing his suit. He'd come out back and he'd just start hitting 3-pointers. We'd just feed him the ball. He'd be shooting changes flying out of his pockets, and he was just nothing but net on every one of them.
I bet you he was very much wanting to be on every team. Every team wanted to have him, I bet, in the leagues, right?
Yeah, well, he had a whole drawer full of scholarship letters that we still have here. And we still have his scrapbook from high school and everything, all the all county, he was the
Yeah.
scoring champ and everything. So yeah, he had quite a
Yeah.
history. When
Yeah.
he passed 3 years ago, and we had a lot of his teammates come and speak at his celebration. And it was great hearing those stories and really getting to meet people that we've only heard of face to face, you know.
Oh,
And
what,
that's a great legacy for you
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
to
Yep.
have a dad like that.
What a great celebration that must have been.
It really was. It really was. The only bad part about it was that none of those skills made it my way, and I was the biggest mess on the basketball court you'd ever want to see. You know, we'd not even be halfway through the first quarter, and I have like 3 fouls on me. So I was just not the most graceful you would ever say out there. I was more of a basketball player with a football playing mentality, I think.
I bet they wanted you because you played defense, my friend.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you were a great rebounder. Usually those guys can rebound and play defense.
I could get rebounds. I could get rebounds, and but the problem was whenever somebody would be dribbling towards me, instead of my hands going up, my shoulder would go down, and
Yeah, right.
that's where I ended up, you know. But
That's where
but
the football player comes in.
exactly. So you know, the thing is that, you know, you were and you've continued to do shows and, you know, live shows with Freddie. You've gone out and done these in, you know, in the public. I've done a lot of children's theater myself, and I gotta, you know, there's something very, very magical about that. You know, first of all, the kids, you know, what they call that suspension of disbelief, completely gone with them. You know, they are into it. You know, you're the guy, you know, you are there, you know, they are really, really following, they're really into it. And afterwards, you know, we would always line up when they were getting back on their school bus to, you know, go back to wherever they were going. They were just absolutely fascinated with us. You'd say hello, and they would just be like, you know, their eyes were just real big. They wanted to shake hands with you. They wanted you to say something to them. And they, especially too, you know, I mean, I think theaters are really, it's a really good positive experience, especially for people that don't come from much.
Yes.
You know, we had a lot of people, you know, when we were in the theater that I was performing at, we were doing a lot of children's shows, and they would bring in a lot of kids from the inner city, some of the rougher parts of town, where they were really getting their first opportunity to see something like this, and they absolutely loved it. You know,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, that we had to transition because we were both live theater. We wanted that response from an audience. That was how we grew up. And when you're in television, I mean, it's just the camera and you. So both of us had to learn different skills to make that work. I mean, you know, in television, you got to let the camera do the work. You're not projecting to the rear seats,
right.
like we're doing in theater, you know. But the cool thing was, apart from the show, when that was done, I would go on tour, and Emily would come with me sometimes.
Yeah.
And we would live perform in shopping malls in different settings, and it was just, like you said, just magical, because the kids just were singing along. They absolutely loved Freddie. They loved the songs. They loved the whole theater environment, and it was really real to them. And when that came home to us was when we performed at the White House, for you know, 2 times. And I mean, what, didn't you think that was amazing?
Well, I did. It was wonderful to see. I mean, that Freddie was a real person to these kids. And Henrietta and Charlie, actually, they were to me. It was very easy for me to do a scene in Henrietta's house and believe that she was real. I really wanted to go to have tea at Henrietta's house.
Had you ever done anything? Well, the one thing I wanted to another story on my, and this is about you, and I'll leave my stories out of it, but I wanted to tell you this one, you know.
I love your stories.
Oh, thank you. We did the theater that, you know, I had Baltimore Actors Theater that I had worked with for a number of years. We also did Babes in Toyland every Christmas. And I played Santa. I played Santa one year. And not only was it my job to play Santa on stage afterwards. I was ushered quickly out to the lobby, and there was a line of children, waiting in line to see Santa. Now, I didn't have any bad mall Santa experiences with this, but nobody vomited on me or anything like that. But they
that's
come up,
good.
yeah, but they're in line, and you could see them in line. They're all looking at you like trying to figure you out. And sometimes, somebody would feed me their names so I could say, "Hi, Bobby. How did you
And
know
they
I
were
was
like,
Bobby?" And then there were a couple of them that were like, "You're not Santa." And I
Yeah.
said, "Well,
Cynical, a little bit
yeah,
cynical.
hello, Christopher." Like, "Hi, Christopher. I spoke to your teacher the other day, and they said you were very well behaved this year." And
Oh
then
my-
that got them to believe and come around a little bit, but when you bring up
Hey.
the
Reverse psychology, my man.
right. And now I've got, my murder mystery company does Polar Express on the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad every year, 65 shows a
Wow.
season.
Fun.
That's some work right there. You ever
I was
worked on
going
a
to say,
train?
how do you pull that off,
Mm.
man? I mean,
Well, I
gotta
have a
come and
lot.
see.
I have a lot of seniority at my job, and I have a lot of vacation time, so I can use that. And that's a fun
Man.
show too, because you get to see that I've played every part because I've had people get sick, and unfortunately, COVID hit us pretty hard a couple of years ago. So I was running around and playing a couple different parts at a time, and it's the Santa is the magical part, because when Santa
Oh,
gets on the train, the kids come right
it's
to you, and they love it.
yeah.
They love it.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a very ambitious thing to put on, isn't it? I mean,
Oh
the
yeah, yeah,
stage.
yes,
I mean,
On
that's
a train.
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it's just to make that real is quite a tribute to you, I would think.
Well, thank you. Well, I had a lot of help. My wife, again, she's been in the business for a long time too, did all the choreography and really directed it. The first
Yeah.
season got us really rolling here. I've directed a couple of seasons, when she wasn't able to come with us, but it's work, believe me, and I don't have to tell you, I mean, it's
Yeah.
work.
Was it all pre-recorded track or?
Yeah, that was I didn't have to write
Mm.
600 songs or anything, but it was
Okay. So but it's technically challenging because the music has to come in at the right time. The
yeah,
lights
yep.
have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and there were
Yeah.
times too. Well, we had to time it too, because the hobo comes out, walks through
Yeah.
with the kid. That scene with the hobo, we had to perform that first, get all the way through the train before the hot chocolate song starts up. And then sometimes we wouldn't make it, and then we had to figure out a time in between, because then immediately from hot chocolate it goes into the story where they read the story and the people have to walk around with the book, and then
Yeah.
Santa comes on, and then we got to and sometimes things just there may be a technical issue on the train, a mechanical
So you're at
issue,
yeah.
so you had to bring your improv skills too.
Yeah. Skills is right.
Right. This is so I think you had mentioned another article that Sid Marty Croft had designed the Charlie and Henrietta and Freddie.
Well, yeah, they went from my concepts, my drawings,
Mhm.
and that was their role. They actually built the costumes, and they
Okay.
built them to dancer friendly. I mean, this was, and they had experience in that, so I think we went to the right folks to build them, and
You sure did.
it was wonderful to get in on that process and see them. And I would say, well, that expression, I wanted a little more smile.
Mhm. Yeah.
When there's not a dancer in there, he's got to have a smile.
Mhm.
So it became a real challenge to make them actually real, to be able to be moved and manipulated by the dancer inside. We had some just fabulous dancers inside the
amazing.
costumes that, well, as you know, watching the show, it became real to the kids. I mean, this was, you know, Freddie was real.
Mhm.
And so you don't get that unless everything works and moves together.
Mhm. And like Sharon Baird,
Yeah.
who was one of the original Mouseketeers and an outstanding dancer. You know, she was in the Charlie the Owl costume. And then Larry Thomas, who was an incredible dancer, was inside Henrietta. And I've seen her in many, many movies. She was one of the,
I think she was the understudy in My Fair Lady.
yeah, she was one of the top dancers in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And we were just so fortunate
And
to
then,
be able to get her on the show.
and then Freddie, we had Yanko Leone, who's a you know, Argentina dancer who just absolutely brought Freddie to life, I thought. You know, and we gave him challenge after challenge. I mean, you know, when we were doing this, we were trying to do the number all at once, from dialogue to pre-recorded song back to dialogue again. And that was the goal of, you know, having 3 cameras and switched live and doing it all as if we were live on stage.
Mhm.
And that was a challenge, believe me, Michael. It was something else.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I could imagine being a bit of a challenge because when you're doing something like that live, you can feed off of the crowd. But then when you've got, you know, just cameraman there, you're just like, you know, does it look all right? I mean, you know, usually you can tell you're doing okay by the reaction of the crowd. If you see people looking at you like, then you know you're not doing so well. But you know, if you get that energy back, but when you got 3, you know, how many cameras did you have?
We had 3 and we had
3.
a boom
Okay.
arm, so 4, it could be 4 at one time.
Mm-hmm. Right. And it's just, I guess you had to give I guess you had a director giving you feedback, right? Or something.
Yeah, well, we had a director in the truck who was, and then of course, after scenes, I would run back to the truck and make his life miserable and say, we need to redo this. We need to, can we have another take on this? So we
Sure.
did that occasionally, but we all got so good at it, I guess you could say.
It's like an ensemble, a
Yeah.
theater ensemble,
Yeah.
Mhm.
where we all understood each other's instincts and kind of what each one of us was going to do in a scene.
Yeah.
And it really was a joy.
Well, here, you'll probably appreciate this, Michael, is, you know, all the songs are pre-recorded.
Mhm.
They were played back to the sound stage. And so, and the voices were real, though. They were actually in a sound booth off stage watching the action. So we would, you know, the characters, the dancers inside the costume, if they heard their voice, they would move their mouth.
Right.
And,
Right.
and so it was immediate sync. They got into a real sync. I mean, they were even ad-libbing with each other, you know? And so when that transition, the sound guy had to crossfade into the pre-recorded song. We would all be lip syncing. Then he would have to crossfade out of the song back to live action.
Wow.
And I mean, it was fun, but it was work. It was a
A lot of
challenge,
work.
and we missed some cues on occasion.
I'm sure. I'm sure that's bound to happen. But yeah, I could that must have been a challenge with that. And speaking of challenges, okay, as if hundreds of songs and all kinds of episodes filming, you know, you welcomed your daughter halfway through the run. Now, you know, a blessing, of course, you know, but I'm sure that presented its challenges as well, you know.
Well, I will say it was a challenge because she was born on the first day that we scheduled to tape the 4th season.
Oh, wow.
And I said, honey, my water just broke. I think we have to go to the hospital. So he had to call in and say, I don't know what time I'm going to be there, but I don't think Emily's going to be there. I think we're having a baby today. And he actually did not get to stay at I ended up having a C-section. And he had, you know, he'd come and then he'd have to go back and do a scene and then come back to the hospital. It was very stressful for him.
Oh gosh, I can imagine.
He came home with a beautiful daughter. And I actually stayed home with her on maternity leave for most of that season. And then now here we are, and she's the one that started the Facebook page.
Managing the
She walked in the house one New Year's Eve and said, Mom and Dad, I think you need to come back, and I think you need to have your own Facebook page. And we said, well, okay,
let's do it.
you sure? And she said, absolutely. And she's done a fabulous job with it.
I think she has. I think she has. And I can tell you've been busy because I've been trying to get this interview for about 1.5 years now.
She has
Oh, really?
a real gift at what she's been doing, promoting us and promoting the show. And she designed our store. We've got a store now. When people they can go to the store and get an autographed picture. And Joanna did all of that. And plus she's coming with us to Boston. And it's been a wonderful thing to share with her.
And you know, another blessing, not only do we have a wonderful daughter, but we got to have guest stars on the show because Emily wasn't there.
Right. And you had quite a
Henry Mancini might never have been on the show, except I had a baby and I stayed home.
I was looking at the list of some of the guest stars that you had here, and you know, Henry Mancini, that must have been a thrill for you, being a musician. And you know, around that time was really kind of the peak for him, because he had done a lot of songs that were in movies in the 60s and the 50s. Probably a lot of stuff you grew up watching. The Pink Panther theme and the Pink Panther theme, you know, Moon River, Breakfast at Tiffany's, so many others. Jim Backus, Mr. Magoo, Mr. Howell. What was that? Tell me about that. What was that like?
Well, each one was different, and I could hardly keep a straight face, you know, when we were doing the lines, because they didn't do the lines. They just have most of it. And so we were all like, okay, we can run with this. So it was a lot of fun, I can tell you right now. We had Jesse White, you know, the Maytag repairman. And we had Pat Paulson, who was running for president at the time.
When was he not running for president? You know?
Yeah, he was always running for president. But then, I mean, we just had everybody you could think of. And who was the lady on Laughing that was with us?
Joanne Worley.
Joanne. Yes, I mean, I could not keep a straight face every scene she was in. And, you know, who else?
Richard
June
Dawson.
Lockhart. Richard Dawson.
Well, June Lockhart too. Yeah. Jesse White, you know, he was one of those. Not only was he the Maytag, but he was in everything. He was one of those guys. I've seen him like in I Dream of Jeannie, Bewitched, The Twilight Zone. He was one of those, what I call that guy. You know, you see him. You know, there's that guy again. You know.
Yeah, who is that? You know. Yeah. And also, these guys were in movies too that you don't hardly ever hear of, but they were great character actors.
Oh, they sure were.
You know.
I mean, and that's, I love having, I love hearing their stories. I just love hearing them talk whenever you can find you. And there's a lot of people like me that are doing, you know, podcasting and trying to reach out to people to hear these stories, because I can just listen to this stuff all night. You know, the stories from not only making the movies, but backstage, you know, working with other people, how they got their parts and everything. That was the reason. You're right. What it was like in those days, what it was like filming certain things. And I've had a couple of people that have interviewed me about, you know, Gotham and, you know, Kimmy Schmidt and a couple of the other things that I did. You know, the J.G. Wentworth Viking was me for a couple of years too. And
you've got your own history, man.
yeah. But it's a lot of people don't always realize what goes into making a TV show. And again, I told you, I'm not sweeping the nation, but I've had a couple cups of coffee, you know, here and there.
That's great.
But that must have been just absolutely incredible. Oh, Fran Ryan, another one.
She was a running character on the show.
Yeah. And I'd seen her in a lot of things.
And Gunsmoke.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, just I mean, gosh, so many. Gosh, I mean, you could just fill episode after episode talking to them too about their history. That's why I just love it. And that must have been really something just to have these folks on your show and just being
Mhm.
being willing to do it, and B, just getting a chance to share a scene or something
Yes.
with them. I mean, that's just awesome.
Well,
And
I
it's
can
just
tell you with Henry Mancini, you haven't, here I was a young composer, and I was sitting in Freddie's rowboat with Henry
yeah,
Mancini,
yeah.
and so I said, I gotta talk to this guy. So
Mhm.
I said, Mr. Mancini, what can you give advice to a young composer? What would you tell me? Just keep writing, son.
Mhm.
Just keep writing. I mean, so that was it. But words of wisdom,
Mhm.
It's better
never
than the
forget.
advice I usually get. The advice I usually get is don't quit your day job. So that's so.
Yeah, well, the fascinating thing is that all those stars got to hear the music as it was played back to
Mhm.
the soundstage. And some of them were actually had to sing along with the track, and lip
Sure.
sync to it and learn it,
Mhm.
because we had a rehearsal day and then a filming day, and
Mhm.
then so they were there and they were there when we filmed it.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I think that's great that they were willing to do this too, because I mean, when you're doing a show like yours too, I mean, yeah, of course you had, both of you are greatly talented. You are, but what you're doing by doing a show like this, you're giving back. You're giving something back because a lot of people gained something good. They benefited from the lessons they learned from your show. And it must have been an honor too, just to have, folks of this caliber buying into what you were doing. I mean,
Mhm.
because I'm sure they would have not done it if they didn't see a value in what you were doing too, you know?
Well, remember, they got to look at the script before they committed. So
Yeah.
each
Hmm.
one, each one of them knew that we had a point, we had
Hmm.
a reason for doing the show. And
Right.
it was to help kids get along in the world with their brother, sister, mom and dad,
Hmm.
classmates, whatever. And so they knew what we were doing. And
Hmm.
I think that they gave it all they had to help us do that.
And
Sure.
when Joanna started this Facebook site, honestly, I wasn't sure that I
Hmm.
wanted to be a part of it, because I've been out of the business for so long and have
Hmm.
done other things that are extremely fulfilling to me. But I thought, if I'm going to go back, I want it to mean something.
Hmm.
And so for me, I enjoy so much meeting our Newzoo kids. And we've heard so many stories, and they're all in different places of their lives.
Hmm.
Some of them are immensely happy and fulfilled, and some of them have had rough things happen,
Oh, sure.
illnesses and operation, all kinds of things that hit. We're all subject to that as we get older, different things that come into our lives that are hard. And I just want to be their encourager. And
Hmm.
we've had many of our Newzoo kids that have sent messages, private messages on the Facebook site, and I pray for them, and they know that, and we want to be a part of their lives as much as we can and be encouragers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, really, our mission hasn't stopped, Michael.
Sure. Sure.
We feel pretty close to you kids. We're
Hmm.
very, very proud of you.
Yeah, I just because you never stop learning and you never stop teaching,
Hmm.
and so that's kind of been our mantra.
Right. And we're grateful to you. Yeah, we're definitely
Thank
grateful
you.
to you. It was just again, such a great thing you're doing, for the greater good by doing a show like that, really helping people,
I hope so. I
helping
think,
both children and their parents, really, helping
yeah.
everybody from that.
One
Um,
of the wonderful things that happened to me not too long ago was that somebody wrote in, and we had done, many, many years ago, a personal appearance at the school where my mother taught music. She was a music teacher at an elementary school in Dallas. And one of the girls, who's a little child then, wrote in and said, I remember that. I remember your mother. And that meant so much to me. And I had pictures of that time when we went, several pictures of the kids. And I sent them to her, and she found herself in one of the pictures.
Wow.
So isn't that cool? All these years later.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
That's
priceless.
great.
Yeah, priceless memories,
Mm-hmm. It sure is. It sure is. Let's see here. I had a couple of other things I wanted to ask you. A
Sure.
lot of these things you kind of answered already, so
I don't want to get ahead of you.
sure. So you have a production company, Laguna. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yeah, Laguna Productions. It's like Laguna Beach.
Right. Okay. And you do the description I saw was like, industrial films, commercials, educational films. And I was looking on the site, and I see a newer version of New Zoo coming out, or one that's out?
We tried our hand at maybe doing a little bit of a revision, but
Mhm.
it really, once we got the feedback from our fans, we kind
Mhm.
of said, yeah, that vision is not going to work right now.
Okay.
So we're kind of retooling that, and we actually have a really cool 2D animated version. Like, I don't know if you've seen that one, but
Hmm.
that one I really like.
Have you seen
Yeah.
the animation? We ought to
Yes.
have Joanna put it
Mhm.
back up on the Facebook site.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I could send it to you, but it's pretty
Sure.
cool.
I had the
Pretty
record
cool.
too that you all put out too. I had one of the
Oh,
records. Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
And Doug's working on several new projects,
Mhm.
and he's actually got a new children's show that
working
I
on
think
it.
is really, really exciting.
That's
Yeah.
excellent. That's excellent. Did your daughter get into the business? Has she ever gotten into performing or the arts or anything?
She was an educator. She taught
Okay.
English at our junior high in our town, and she now technology expert and helps teachers learn the latest technology. And she just loves her mommy and daddy,
Mhm.
she really enjoys this.
Yeah.
I think she would actually love to do it full time.
None of our kids really got into the acting
Mhm.
music bug at all, which I'm kind of grateful for, because
Mhm.
as you know, it can be a tough industry
Oh yeah.
for
Oh yeah.
for a lot of kids,
Mhm.
But our son has a website company and works.
Yeah, I mean,
He has a company here, and
I always told them, get behind the scenes quickly.
Yep. I've heard a lot of people say that, and I can see because it's not easy out in front of the scenes, but I know you don't have to tell me.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Hmm. I know. It's
but our
it's
kids are
not an
all
easy business at all.
all
No,
of our kids are very musical. Our daughter in Colorado is a very accomplished violinist, and her husband plays the mandolin, and they actually have established several house churches in
Mhm.
Colorado Springs, and she works in a prison ministry for women,
Hmm.
helping women, teaching parenting classes to women that want to reunite with their children. So I think all three of our kids, we're so thankful. They're all doing things that are interesting and stimulating to them, and we're immensely proud of them. And we have 11 grandchildren that we adore, and we're just waiting for some of the older ones to get married so we can have some great grandchildren.
Have you did you show them did they watch the New Zoo Revue, I guess, recordings of it growing up too? Did you share that with them?
No,
No.
occasionally.
we've seen it.
That was just something mom and dad
but
did.
there's no respect there, believe me.
Well, the thing is, Michael, for 40 years or more, I was producing and directing in Las Vegas, as you saw with Laguna Productions.
Mhm.
And Emmy Jo was being a full-time mom and doing
Yeah.
the books for our company.
Mhm.
And so New Zoo was kind of the thing we did back then.
Yeah, yeah.
know,
I know what you
and
mean by that. Yeah, I know
But
what you're saying.
I'm really thankful that it's being brought back into the forefront here because, as you know, with our, the way things are going with the country and the world, I think that these messages are still very, very vital right now.
And parents and grandparents, they want to have something where they can go off in the other room, they can go in the kitchen, and they don't have to worry about what their kids are seeing
Mhm.
on television. And we've had countless numbers of our Newzoo kids tell us that they want new shows. They want to be able to put their grandchildren in front of the TV too. And so it's rewarding. I'm glad that the messages of the show are, well, they're just timeless, really.
They
We
really
all-
are. And
We all need a kinder world, a gentler world,
Mhm.
where we just treat each other with gentleness and respect.
You're right about
Very
that.
simple.
You're right about that. And the one thing that I would say is, and I think you're absolutely right. I think my own observations, and I don't think I'm alone in seeing this, is it just seems like over the past 20 or 30 years, whenever there's a disagreement or something like that, people are just going scorched earth on each other,
Yeah.
instead of working things out, living, I guess, by the golden rule, treating others as you wish to be treated, being civil.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's any time we need the Newzoo review, it's now,
Well, we can all
Thank you,
have,
Michael.
we can all have our differences of opinion.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have friends that we have extremely varied opinions on a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
But we're the closest of friends because we don't care. We don't try
Right.
to convince each other that we're right. We just
Mhm.
enjoy we appreciate the things in each other that mean so much to us. And I think
Mhm.
that's important in our culture, that we just
Well,
get back to kindness.
And there's a little thing called compromise.
Yes,
Which,
compromise. You're right. You're right, Doug. Absolutely.
Like you said, a civil dialogue where you can agree to disagree
Right.
and not
Right.
and not be violent about it.
Right.
I mean,
I mean, going completely, and the humiliating each other publicly on social media.
It's horrible.
And the thing is,
Well,
is that
it's a form of bullying.
it's
That's bullying.
I agree.
And that's one of the things that we felt so strongly about, and Doug felt so strongly about when he created the show, was that bullying is so cruel. I was bullied as a child. I still feel the hurt. And honestly, I bullied somebody else. When I was in junior high, I bullied someone.
Mhm.
And I'm forgiven for it, but I still regret it. And I wonder if that girl remembers that I was unkind to her.
Mhm.
It's a bad memory for me. And so we feel that's something that both of us feel very strongly about.
Mhm.
in fact, my new show is about digital citizenship.
Oh, okay.
So-
Okay. Yeah, when we wrap up, I'd like to give you an opportunity to tell us about what you have now and where we can find it and everything too. But just to get with what you were saying, I mean, and to kind of add on to what we've been talking about here, I mean, decades long friendships are being ruined. Family relationships have been ruined. And
Yeah.
the social media, everybody, not the insistence on being right, and the name calling, as you had mentioned, the bullying, and you really, like I said, you all both really did such a great job of just teaching civility, getting along, manners, responsibility. I mean, it's just like I said, we need you. Come on, guys.
Thank you. Well, Michael, I mean, it's not to say that we were Pollyanna in our scripts or
Sure.
songs.
Right.
I mean, there were a lot of times where Charlie blew his top.
Mhm.
Henrietta had a hissy fit on the
Had a
floor,
meltdown.
Oh, yeah.
losing her temper. I mean,
Mhm.
in other
Oh,
words,
yeah.
we had conflict, but we also had resolution.
It-
And
Perfect,
that
right.
is the key. That is the key.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, you couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better. And again, that was part of the lesson too, you know.
Yeah,
Yep. The walls fell down. Now, how do we bring them back up?
Mhm.
exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, God, this has been an absolute thrill having both of you on today, and I greatly appreciate it. I know, as I'd mentioned, and it wasn't a shot that I was taking. It's taken me over a year to get you, but I'm glad that you're out there. I'm glad that people are able to see you. You know, I had read somewhere that you had never seen your own fan letters until somebody found them and gave them to you decades after the fact. Is that true?
Mention that. So tell the story. Where did he find those letters?
Well, he actually was at a garage sale or a rummage sale,
Mhm.
and he and his wife, who were Newzoo fans, they looked and they thought, this is a box of Newzoo stuff. And in it were letters and fan mail and coloring books and all kinds of memorabilia that somebody had just, maybe somebody in the office, because Newzoo was very corporate at the time.
Mhm.
And it was, as you know, back in the day, actors and writers and, it was a sign here. And, we just did it because we wanted
Mhm.
to make it,
Yeah. Well,
quote.
here we get this big package
So we
of
get
letters.
we get a package.
We start opening the letters and they're children's hearts. They're pouring out their hearts to us, but somebody
never saw
else answered them. Wasn't me.
Well,
I-
it was the corporation that answered him. Dear so-and-so, we thank you for your letter, but we can't do this at this time. I mean, it was just like, what?
So we're so grateful that we
Yeah,
letters,
yeah.
but that's made us intentionally more sensitive to have a connection
Yeah.
with the people that we meet at these
Yeah.
what do they call
Comic-Con.
Comic-Cons, which I'd never heard of until
Mhm.
Joanna got us
Yeah, but maybe
started it in San Diego.
Maybe one of those was those letters.
But I mean, it's made us very intentional about staying in touch with and having a connection with our
Mhm.
Newzoo kids.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, I mean, that is, it's a shame that you never got a chance to see those, but again,
Isn't that a shock?
yeah, I
But
mean, it's, yeah,
back in the day, it was like today, it's corporate run, and
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
the artist doesn't really have too much say in what goes on behind the scenes. Unfortunately, you probably know that, and
Very well.
unfortunately, that's how the show did not get picked up or renewed for a fifth season. We just did 100 and I said we did 196 half hours, but boy, we could have. I was praying that we would go on for 500 episodes,
Right,
and
right.
but it's just the powers that be. There was too much infighting,
Yeah.
and they didn't listen to my lessons.
Yeah. I could tell you, tons of stories that yeah, right. They didn't listen to you. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could tell you tons of stories that I've encountered, for the time that I've been in the business. And a lot of people I know that are friends of mine that, were actually had record contracts that
Have
fell.
you? Yeah.
Oh yeah, that fell through,
Mm.
the original intent of my show was there were a lot of bands in the mid-Atlantic region where I'm from that were
Yeah.
they were not really known outside of this area, but in this area they're like the Rolling Stones, and
Yeah.
they would open for the big acts, they would tour with some of the bigger acts, but they were never got to number one, or they were on the way to it and the record company changed their mind, and so many stories like that. One of the shows that I was on, Gotham, was supposed to be 7 seasons, and they ended up cutting it off at 4.5. And I was in the last episode ever filmed, by the way. I was lucky that I got the part, and I was grateful. But
Yeah.
and the thing is, too, maybe you found this too. Like, there are a lot of shows out there, like Star Trek and others, and Gotham is one of them, that it's like a religion. You know, these people know that episode. They know it line for line. They know every character, every plot. You know, I'm not sure if the new Zoo fans have the same intensity, but you know, I'm sure, you know, it's a lot more fond memories, but you know, it's these people, they know every scene, every dialogue, every character. They write their own stories based on these characters and create their own fan fiction. And they've been great to me. You know, I was only in one episode, but they found an actor from Gotham that would talk back to them and answer their questions when line, you know, and you know, so they were nice to me. But I'm sure too, you know, I mean, there are people that I bet you've probably been pretty, you know, happy with the response you've gotten, huh?
Well, we are, and the Facebook site, this is, I think, just so cool. The Facebook site is the New Zoo Revue.
Mm-hmm.
Then she started a second Facebook site called the New Zoo Revue Family Reunion. And
Mhm.
she doesn't put any clips on that or anything. That is strictly for our New Zoo kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they share pictures of their families, their pets,
Yeah.
New Zoo toys that they had when they were children.
Love it.
It's wonderful. And Doug and I are not allowed. She said, nope, you cannot comment on anything.
Mhm.
But we can see it. We can look at it and see their families, and it's wonderful. Some of them are going to come to Boston, and we'll get to see them when they come by to say hi. So it's
Wonderful.
very wonderful.
Wonderful. So
Yeah, there are some I call them rip-off Facebook pages and stuff that people's got to be careful not to get on those. Come to the original one.
and that's another thing that's part of the business too. You know, people will,
Exactly.
especially online, people impersonate others online. They
Oh,
probably
yeah.
say, "Hi, this is Doug from the New Zoo Review," and drop every F-bomb in the book when it's not you. And then they do things that, you know, you have to. And
Why we
people,
always stress that the Facebook page is the New Zoo Review.
Mhm. Yeah.
Not right.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but that's, you know,
But
people
you're
do
right.
things, yeah, that will and
Yeah.
people will try to bring you down. They'll do things like that to try to embarrass
will.
you, and it's just
Yeah.
an awful thing. So,
It's a
so
shame.
yeah. So tell us what you have going on now, where we can find you. I guess you just told us about your Facebook page, of course. Anything else you'd
Yeah.
like us to know? You'd mentioned Boston, any other appearances you may have, links to where we can find everything. Go right ahead. This is the
Well,
shameless plug portion of the evening where you can shamelessly plug anything you'd like to shamelessly plug, with no shamelessness spared and all shamelessness included. So have at it.
Well, I mean, I would encourage people to go to our YouTube channel,
Okay.
because that's where you'll find some free episodes, but you'll also find me singing every Saturday a song from the show. And I think people would find that interesting, to say the least. And I think they'd find that to be fun. And
Oh yeah.
on that channel, I'm inviting, the people to invite their kids or grandkids and gather around and just sing along with me, So that's something that I think would be fun for your listeners, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And then definitely the store. I would love for people to go to that store, and there's a lot of memorabilia on there that I think.
A lot of people, they want pictures.
Yeah.
They want them autographed to their family or their friends, and we're happy to do that. And it's a way to staying in touch with them. So that's on the store. And then
we've got everything from Christmas
oh
decorations
gosh,
to
Dad designed Christmas ornaments that are adorable.
and it's just been fun to relive the products, which we didn't have any part of back in the day, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. Gosh.
So
sign
this
here.
is something. Yeah, sign here.
Yeah.
But we have a stuffed animal kit, and it's just all kinds of stuff.
Love it.
I think people will love just going through all the stuff that's on there.
And the family reunion page is really fun.
And also we're on Prime Ticket. I remastered 14 episodes that people could. I think they would find that interesting, because I've subtitled everything with closed caption. So yeah, all the lyrics to the song and the dialogue, it's all closed caption. And I've had such fun to reimagine those shows. I mean, I didn't reimagine them, but I got to recolor them. I
Mhm.
got to redo the music and make it a little more, bright. And so it's just that whole thing has really been fun. But there's 14 episodes on Prime Ticket that I think people get a kick out of.
Love it, love it. Well, I'll make sure that in the show notes on the website of this episode and on everywhere else that we're going to put it, we're going to have the links to where we can find all these things. So,
Oh yeah, thank you.
And
Yeah,
just think about this. None of this would have happened if Joanna had walked into the house
That's right.
that New Year's Eve and said, I've
Mhm.
got an idea for you.
And by the way, that was only a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Mhm. Right, right.
That's all we've been doing. This is just for a year and a half.
She's actually become, she wouldn't want me to say this, but she's actually become a celebrity, I think, herself.
Oh
Because
yeah.
everybody loves her. Everybody loves her, and they've met her at the cons. And
Yeah,
when we do the live, sometimes Joanna's on there. And
yeah.
that's fun for us as her parents.
I have to say, and I'll tell you this here, and I'm not just making this up or telling you this either. I think I've dealt with her, and I've dealt with a lot of publicists, and I've dealt with a lot of people in the business, and I tell you, she is head and shoulders right up there with, as far as professionalism and courtesy. And
you.
she does a bang up job for you. And
Thank
I
you.
would, you got somebody good looking out for you there, definitely.
Thank you.
She's doing a
Are
bang
you
up
familiar?
job.
Are you familiar with our PR guy, Danny Duraney?
Yes, yes, he was the one that um I guess your daughter was probably getting overwhelmed, and she gave me Danny's contact information.
Yeah.
And I
Danny is
corresponded
one of
with
our
him.
Yeah.
Danny is one of our New Zoo kids too.
Oh
And
yeah,
we just adore him.
I think he does a great job for us too. I really do.
I think he does as well. He was another one who was just very, very courteous, very professional, very
Yeah.
prompt, and another one who does a bang up job for you. So you got a good team. You got a good team
Yes.
behind you
do.
there.
We do. We're very, very, very thankful.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I would like to, again, thank you both very much. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the good that your show's done. Thank you for the good works that you've done, and it's been a pleasure, getting to meet you and speak with both of you today. And thanks again so much for being here.
Enjoyed it very, very much.
Thanks.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Michael.
Absolutely. And folks, you have Doug Momery and Emily Payden. Oh God, I'm sorry, I just stumbled on that. But
That's okay.
both of you, both of them here from the New Zoo Revue. And again, all their links are in the show notes. And thank you all for tuning in today. And we'll see you all next time on Fowl Players Radio. Folks, thanks again for tuning in tonight to season 11, episode 21, Doug and Emmy Joe from the New Zoo Revue. It was I had a great time speaking with them tonight and hearing all about the show and hearing their memories and getting to know them. I mean, weren't they great? They were just two lovely, lovely people. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Their links to everything you want to know, their social media, website, and everything else is in the show notes. So make sure you go there and check out what they're doing. And again, two very, very nice people. It was my pleasure to have them on the show. The Fowl Players of Perryville are back in action. Remember to go to our website, fowlplayersofperryville.com, fowlplayersperryville@yahoo.com, or 443-600-0446 for bookings. Every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Remember me on 97 Underground, the Back of the Rack, the Michael Spedden Show. And we feature songs you forgot you liked, classics that never die, a whole lot of local stuff. Go to 97underground.com, download the free app, listen to us wherever you go. We thank you for watching and listening. Again, our main website, fowlplayersradio.com, and our YouTube channel is youtube.com/@fowlplayersradio. Remember to support the guests in their endeavors. Links to their books, albums, tickets to their shows, and much more can be found in the show notes of each episode. Thanks again for tuning in, folks. We hope you enjoyed our interview tonight with Doug and Emmy Joe, and we will see you all next time. Michael Spedden, signing off.